I was blown away with this title when it was first announced and even more so while playing. It's a stunningly beautiful 2D watercolor world that's got more aesthetically pleasing artwork than your average Sunday morning cartoon. The story takes point after Aurora becomes ill and falls into a death-like sleep. She then awakens in the magical land of Lemuria, where she's quickly greeted by a firefly named Innocuous. Together, they discover that Aurora must somehow retrieve the sun, stars, and moon which were stolen by the Black Queen. Aurora isn't empty-handed though. She quickly finds herself something pointy and proceeds to kick some bad guy ass. That's the story in a nutshell, and while it won't win any awards, there was more than enough going on to keep me invested the entire time. Child of Light is a bittersweet combination of Sleeping Beauty, Where the Wild Things Are, and something out of Lindsay Lohan's Nightmares. Artwork and story aside, the most impressive aspect that Child of Light has to offer is definitely the soundtrack by Coa de Pirat, which really brings the experience to a whole new level. Exploration was calm and smoothing, battles are intense and powerful, and the boss fights are simply amazing when they bring out a full orchestra and choir. My only gripe with how Child of Light is visually presented is the dialogue itself. Every single line, everything, and I mean everything in this game has a rhyme to it. It's done this way as an attempt to present the game as a children's fairy tale. At first I was really into it and it did help me embrace the world of Lemuria, but after a few short hours it honestly started to get to me. Child of Light is separated into two main parts, exploration and combat. While exploring, Aurora basically just travels the map until she finds herself in the next quest marker. There are puzzles and enemies in her way, and the game does reward you for going out of your way to discover new or hidden areas. This is made even easier after the first hour when you're given your fairy wings, which allow for nearly infinite flight. Aurora will also meet a few charming characters along her journey, a mouse archer, a bearded wizard, and a pair of tumbling acrobats. Combat has a cool take on the active time battle system, which enables the player to interrupt enemy attacks if you hit them while they're trying to cast. This forces you to strategize what attacks to use, when to attack, and when to defend. At the same time, you can take control of that little firefly to slow down enemies or heal party members. The firefly can also open chests, activate switches, and stun enemies in the overworld, and can even be set to a second player. As Aurora levels up, you can spend points into a sprawling tree of skills that's divided up into three parts. The first two are more warrior and spellcaster focused, while the third is more or less a let's roll the dice and hope shit works out kind of thing. You can focus on one or two of these, or bite the bullet and go for a jack of all trades. The choice is completely up to you. Crystals can also be found within the world or crafted by combining the ones that you already have. These are then applied to your weapons and gear for added bonuses to your characters, although I found the system to be lacking the amount of depth that I would have liked, and it felt a little clunky and unpolished. There were several moments during Child of Light that really drove it home for me. Watching Aurora struggle at the start of the game, using all of her might to lift her weapon, really shows her humble beginnings compared to how badass she becomes later on. It was things like this that blended story with actual gameplay, and this really stood out to me. But not everything was perfect. I didn't expect the story to hit me on the same emotional level as Final Fantasy, but I also didn't expect it to leave me disappointed either. Visually, Child of Light is flat out amazing, and I can't think of a single game that even comes close to it, but it's the story that fails to carry it the rest of the way. At the end of the game, I found myself saying, well, that pretty much went how I expected it to go. And that's the issue, the story is predictable. There weren't any major plot twists that I already didn't see coming. Child of Light is a ton of fun to play, and despite what I mentioned about the story, I played through it twice and might even go for a third time. The minor issues this game has are nothing when compared to what it does right. It was consistently challenging on hard mode, and New Game Plus took that even further. There was nothing that ever stopped me from wanting to play this game. While this isn't as meaty or in-depth as longer RPGs, I actually think that's a good thing and makes this a great introduction for newer players to the genre. Child of Light's watercolored fantasy is beautiful to behold. Ubisoft took a chance when they gave Patrick the creative freedom to build his own title, and it really paid off. If the rumors for a sequel hold any truth, I'm extremely excited I had a chance to play it.